Who really ruled the 1950s, movie stars or monsters? While Hollywood's golden boys were dazzling audiences, it was the creatures from the deep, the stars, and the wild imaginations of filmmakers who actually haunted dreams and packed theaters. Think the 50s were innocent and safe? Guess again. From radioactive giants to cosmic invaders, these creatures terrified an entire generation. Which sci-fi monster from this era gave you chills, or are you brave enough to watch until the last reveal? You might want to leave the lights on for this one. The Gilman, creature from the Black Lagoon, 1954. Let's start with the king of the lagoon, the Gilman. When this creature first rose from the black waters, audiences weren't just scared. They were fascinated. Imagine being face to face with something both human and totally alien. Something that moves through water with the grace of a ballet dancer and the cold intent of a predator. The Gilman is not just another monster in a rubber suit. The design was a masterpiece, blending amphibian and reptilian features so well that it's still iconic. Actor Riku Browning pulled off those legendary underwater scenes without an air tank, making the creature seem eerily real. The Gilman represented the unknown, lurking just out of sight, but there was more to him than terror. He was lonely, misunderstood, almost tragic. That complexity helped make the Gilman a lasting pop culture symbol, inspiring everything from Halloween costumes to modern movies like The Shape of Water. In the 1950s, the Gilman wasn't just a monster. He was a metaphor for every fear and fascination we had about the deep, dark corners of our world. To this day, no one forgets their first look at those haunting, unblinking eyes. The Blob. The Blob, 1958. Now let's get gooey. The Blob doesn't have claws, fangs, or even a face, but it managed to become one of the most unforgettable monsters of the decade. What is more frightening than something that can't be reasoned with, bargained with, or even looked in the eye? The Blob just oozes in, swallowing everything in its path: cheerleaders, moviegoers, and Steve McQueen's debut as a leading man. The brilliance of the Blob is in its simplicity. It's a pink, ever-growing mass from outer space that feeds on fear itself. As it slides under doors and through air vents, the tension ramps up. In the atomic age, the Blob was the perfect stand-in for every uncontrollable threat, from nuclear fallout to mysterious plagues. The film's special effects, though low budget, made this alien goo horrifyingly believable. But the Blob isn't just a movie monster. It's an idea, pure, mindless danger that gets bigger every time you think you're safe. Decades later, the Blob is still celebrated at horror festivals, and the image of that hungry mass creeping across the screen remains one of the greatest scares of the 50s. The Metaluna Mutant. This Island Earth, 1955. It's time for a little mad science. When you first see the Metaluna Mutant, you know you're looking at something only the wildest imaginations could cook up. That gigantic, veiny brain, those bulging insect eyes, those crab-like claws. It's a face you never forget. Born from the desperate experiments of an alien civilization trying to save itself, the Metaluna Mutant isn't just a monster. It's the last gasp of a world gone wrong. This creature might not get a ton of screen time, but every second is burned into your memory. It's the perfect mix of terror and tragedy, created to fight a war it can never win. The special effects team behind this Island Earth pulled off a design that still turns heads at conventions today, and the mutant became an instant sci-fi icon, showing up everywhere from magazine covers to spoof movies. What makes the Metaluna Mutant truly special isn't just the way it looks, it's what it represents. The price of meddling with nature, the dangers of science unchecked, and the fear of becoming the very thing you're trying to escape. If you want a monster that defines 50s sci-fi, the Metaluna Mutant is your poster child. The giant ants. Them, 1954. What if your biggest fear suddenly grew 10 feet tall and started marching down Main Street? That's exactly what Them unleashed with its colossal irradiated ants. Born from atomic testing in the desert, these ants weren't just oversized, they were organized, relentless, and horrifyingly believable. Their screeching cries echoed through theaters and set a brand new standard for monster movie terror. The special effects team crafted enormous animatronic ants and used clever camera angles to make every scene feel even bigger, bolder, and more threatening. Audiences screamed, critics raved, and Them instantly became the atomic age monster movie to beat. But it's not just the scares that make it legendary. Them captures the real anxiety of its era, the lurking fear of what science and nuclear power could unleash on the world. In the wake of World War II and the start of the Cold War, everyone wondered what would come next, what would mutate, and what might crawl out of the desert. The giant ants became the model for a whole stampede of big bug films, but none ever matched the raw punch and suspense of Them. If you ever doubted that something as harmless as an ant could keep you awake at night, this movie will make you think twice before planning your next picnic. The Martians. The War of the Worlds, 1953. Invaders from Mars, 1953. Let's talk about invaders. When the Martians landed in American cinemas, they did more than destroy cities. They invaded minds. In The War of the Worlds, they rolled in with death rays, tripods, and no mercy, laying waste to everything in their path. The special effects were revolutionary, and the sound of their war machines sent chills down every spine. Invaders from Mars played a different card, focusing on mind control and paranoia. In both films, the Martians weren't just aliens, they were the ultimate outsiders, triggering fears of invasion, mind loss, and helplessness. In the 50s, these movies mirrored the real-world anxiety about enemies just over the horizon. What made the Martians so effective was their mystery. They looked strange, acted stranger, and felt like an unstoppable force. Hollywood has reimagined Martians countless times, but the original 1950s version set the bar, and in some ways, nobody's topped them since. If you want a creature that left a mark not just on sci-fi but on American culture, look no further than the Martians, who landed right in the heart of Cold War paranoia. The Thing plant monster. The Thing from Another World, 1951. Here's the creature that taught America to fear the ice, the dark, and every unknown specimen ever hauled back to a lab. When the Thing is thawed from Arctic ice, it's not your average alien invader. This is a hulking, nearly indestructible monster, grown from vegetable matter, not flesh or bone. No fangs, no scales, just pure, relentless violence. The Thing's most terrifying weapon? Its adaptability. Bullets bounce off, nothing stops it except fire. Every attack sends a fresh wave of panic through that isolated research outpost, turning survival into a nerve-wracking nightmare. What really gets under your skin is the mood, the eerie silence, the isolation, the creeping suspicion as the group realizes nature itself may have turned against them. Legendary producer Howard Hawks made sure the tension never slipped, and the result is a creature feature that's remembered not just for its design, but for what it represents. The Thing isn't just a monster, it's every uncontrollable force we think we can tame, until it breaks free and reminds us who's really in charge. If you ever need a chilling reminder that curiosity can come with a heavy price, The Thing is waiting out there in the cold, ready to make you think twice about poking around in the unknown. Robot Monster Roman. Robot Monster, 1953. Sometimes cinematic greatness arrives wearing a gorilla suit and a diving helmet. Enter Roman, the robot monster. This bizarre mashup is legendary, not because it's terrifying, but because it's so wonderfully, outrageously weird. Roman is sent to Earth to wipe out humanity with his calcinator death ray, but spends most of the film brooding among the ruins, grappling with loneliness and confusion. The creature's look is so odd, part spaceman, part King Kong, that it's impossible to forget. Yes, the effects are low budget, the dialogue is wild, and the action sometimes drifts into dream logic. But here's the thing. Robot Monster has outlasted 100 serious creatures because it's pure, wild imagination. It's the kind of monster you never expect, and that's exactly why it lingers in pop culture memory. Love it, mock it, but you can't ignore Roman. He's the ultimate outsider, stumbling through a world he never made, and somehow he ends up oddly sympathetic. Sometimes the most unforgettable creature is the one you laugh at first, then secretly love. The Giant Tarantula. Tarantula 1955. When it comes to nightmare fuel, few things top a house-sized spider. In Tarantula, the desert turns into a hunting ground as a radiation-spawned arachnid begins devouring cattle, townsfolk, and eventually whole buildings. The real shock? The effects team used actual tarantulas, composited over real scenery, to pull off some of the most convincing giant monster moments of the era. The result is a creature that feels weirdly real, even decades later. There's something primal about seeing a spider big enough to swallow a car, and Tarantula doesn't pull any punches. Scientists scramble to find answers, the military moves in, and soon flamethrowers are blazing against a beast that simply refuses to die. While there were plenty of big bug movies in the 1950s, what sets Tarantula apart is its pacing and suspense. It's not just a gimmick. The film slowly shifts from scientific curiosity to total panic, drawing viewers deeper into the terror. And here's a bit of trivia. A young Clint Eastwood appears as the fighter pilot who helps take down the monster before anyone knew his name. Think all spider movies are the same? Tarantula will have you checking under your bed long after the credits roll. Some monsters are just too big to ignore. The Deadly Mantis. The Deadly Mantis, 1957. Think bugs are only scary when they're small? Think again. When the Deadly Mantis emerges from the Arctic ice, it's not just oversized, it's the size of a fighter jet, and just as lethal. This prehistoric predator rampages down the East Coast, smashing through radar stations, clawing its way into New York, and swatting fighter planes out of the sky like they're nothing. The effects are classic 50s, practical puppets, sharp editing, and just enough shadow to sell every moment. What really sets the Deadly Mantis apart is the suspense. The creature's slow, relentless march south is a ticking clock. Every mile it covers ramps up the dread for everyone in its path. It's the perfect collision of nature gone wild, government panic, and helpless humanity. This isn't just about a monster, it's about the terror of being utterly powerless against something so much bigger, so much more unstoppable than you could ever imagine. The mantis doesn't need to roar or make threats, its looming presence says it all. Every shot of its silhouette over city rooftops sticks with you. And when the beast is finally brought down, you can almost hear the audience exhale in relief. The Deadly Mantis proves some creatures are best left frozen in the past. The mutant isopods. The monster that challenged the world, 1957. If you thought the desert was safe, think again. When an earthquake cracks open California's Salton Sea, it unleashes a swarm of giant, prehistoric isopods. Think pillbugs the size of cars, with snapping jaws and an appetite for anything that moves. What sets these monsters apart is how convincingly gross they are. The effects crew built full-scale creatures, complete with slimy, chitinous shells and twitching antennae. When they burst out of the water, it's both spectacular and squirm-inducing. The story is half crime thriller, half monster rampage, with scientists and military scrambling to contain the threat before the isopods reach civilization. There's an almost procedural feel to the way the film unfolds, tracing missing persons, finding slime trails, setting up traps. But don't let the science fool you. When these monsters attack, it's pure horror. The isopods might not have the name recognition of Godzilla or King Kong, but they left their own mark on 50s sci-fi. Sometimes the creepiest monsters are the ones lurking just below the surface, waiting to crawl out and change everything. The Creeping Eye. The Trollenberg Terror, 1958. Time to face the monster that gave a generation of British kids real sleepless nights. The Creeping Eye. What a name, right? Forget your garden variety aliens. This beast is a giant, pulsating eyeball with a mass of writhing tentacles, hiding in the cold, deadly fog of the Swiss Alps. Locals vanish, mountaineers end up decapitated, and the cause? An alien invader with a face you'd never want to see staring through your window at midnight. The effects might be classic B-movie cheese, but the mood is pure nightmare fuel. The monster creeps and slithers, stalking its prey with an unblinking gaze and a reach that never quits. What makes the Creeping Eye so haunting isn't just how it looks. It's the creeping sense that the unknown can be right outside, hiding in the mist, waiting for you to let your guard down. The Trollenberg Terror built its suspense around what you don't see, holding off the full reveal until the terror is almost unbearable. When that monstrous eye finally emerges from the fog, it's a moment you never forget. Sometimes, the simplest creatures are the ones that haunt us longest, and this one stares straight into your soul. The fire-breathing monster Ritasaurus, the beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 1953. Before Godzilla ever stomped through Tokyo, the Ritasaurus from The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms was already flattening cities and melting toy soldiers with atomic breath. This prehistoric beast is awakened from the Arctic by nuclear testing and promptly heads for New York, tearing apart everything from lighthouses to roller coasters. The creature itself, brought to life by stop-motion legend Ray Harryhausen, is a masterclass in movie monster design, scaly, ferocious, and terrifyingly animal. What makes Ritasaurus so effective is the sense of scale. This thing is huge, unstoppable, and completely out of place in the modern world. It's not a villain with an agenda, it's just a force of nature, pure and simple. The movie made a huge impact, literally. It launched the atomic monster craze, inspired dozens of imitators, and showed what a little imagination and a lot of model buildings could achieve. Every time the Ritasaurus lets loose that haunting roar, you remember what made the 50s monster era so legendary. If you ever wondered why scientists shouldn't poke sleeping dinosaurs, this beast is your answer. The Amir, 20 million miles to Earth, 1957. Straight from the mind of Ray Harryhausen, the Amir is a creature that's equal parts tragic and terrifying. This reptilian alien starts small, hatched from an egg astronauts bring back from Venus, but it doesn't stay harmless for long. The Amir grows at a wild, impossible pace, quickly towering over everyone and everything. As the creature wanders a strange, new world, terrified humans are quick to hunt it down. The real twist? The Amir never wanted to be here. Harryhausen's legendary stop-motion effects turn the Amir into more than just a monster. When it looks scared, lost, or confused, you almost feel for it. There's an odd sympathy bubbling beneath its scales. You root for it, even as it causes chaos. But don't let your guard down. When threatened, the Amir is a powerhouse, able to face off against elephants and wreck half of Rome with pure, desperate fury. What makes the Amir fascinating isn't just its alien design, but the way it blurs the line between monster and victim. It's an invader, yes, but also a lost creature fighting for survival in a world stacked against it. That complexity, matched with groundbreaking effects, cements the Amir as a true standout. If you like your monsters with a touch of heartbreak, this is the one to remember. The Giant Octopus. It came from beneath the sea, 1955. If you're scared of what's lurking in the ocean, It Came from Beneath the Sea will keep you out of the water for good. This time the terror is a radioactive octopus the size of a battleship, and it's got San Francisco on the menu. Ray Harryhausen's stop-motion wizardry brings a writhing mass of tentacles to life, smashing bridges, sinking ships, and grabbing panicked crowds right off the waterfront. Here's a fun fact. Budget cuts meant the octopus only had 6 arms instead of 8. But when you see those tentacles wrapping around the Golden Gate Bridge, you won't be counting limbs. The real genius is in the mood. The film captures Cold War anxiety, with unstoppable threats rising from the deep, unseen until it's too late. The octopus doesn't roar or screech. It glides, eerily silent, invisible beneath the waves until it erupts in chaos. There's something uniquely creepy about a monster you know is out there, but can't spot until it's right on top of you. When those arms crush landmarks and drag people underwater, it's a spectacle no drive-in audience could forget. The giant octopus isn't just a creature, it's the ultimate what-if from the atomic age. After watching, you'll never look at calamari or the ocean the same way again. The Giant Devil Girl and Metal Robots. Devil Girl from Mars, 1954. Now, let's jump across the pond for a dose of British sci-fi with real attitude. Devil Girl from Mars gave audiences a Martian invader who broke every rule, a towering woman in black leather, armed with a death ray and an army of hulking metal robots. Nia, the so-called Devil Girl, lands her flying saucer in the Scottish Highlands and delivers one ultimatum: submit or be destroyed. The robots, especially the massive boxy Chani, may look odd by today's standards, but in the 50s, they were unforgettable. The film is low budget, sure, but it's pure style, mixing pulp energy with a sly sense of humor and a villain who simply refuses to be ignored. Nia isn't just a monster, she's a statement, flipping the script on damsels in distress and making everyone else look helpless. Even decades later, Devil Girl from Mars stands out for its audacity and weird charm. When a Martian with attitude comes to call, Earth better watch out. The Quartermass Mutant Xenomorph Blob Creature. The Quartermass Experiment, 1955. For the grand finale, let's talk about a creature that terrified Britain and set the bar for TV to cinema sci-fi crossovers. The mutant from The Quartermass Experiment isn't just one thing, it's a grotesque, ever-changing fusion of astronaut and alien, thanks to a deadly encounter in space. What starts as a subtle infection quickly becomes a rampaging horror, oozing, absorbing, and mutating as it lumbers across London. The effects are shadowy, unsettling, and almost too real. This creature is the stuff of pure nightmares, blurring the line between human and monster in the creepiest way possible. The film's dark documentary feel only adds to the dread, making the threat seem plausible, even likely. The Quartermass Mutant wasn't just a monster, it was a warning about the dangers of exploring the unknown, and about how easily humanity could lose itself to something it can't control. It's no wonder this film kick-started a whole wave of British sci-fi horror. When you see the mutant's final desperate moments, you understand why some monsters don't need to roar to haunt you for life. The Giant Claw. The Giant Claw, 1957. If you think you've seen it all, wait until you meet the Giant Claw, a monster so bizarre, audiences in the 1950s literally gasped. This isn't your standard big bug or rubber-suited alien. It's a vulture-like space bird as big as a battleship, with a face only a B-movie fan could love. The Giant Claw comes screaming out of the sky, immune to bullets, swatting jets, and demolishing everything in its path. Its backstory: it's made of antimatter and comes from another galaxy. The special effects? Infamous for a reason. Think marionette nightmare. But here's the twist. The ridiculous look of the monster only adds to its legend. It's the stuff cult classics are made of. No other creature turned ridicule into fame like the Giant Claw. Over time, this oddball has become a badge of honor for fans, proof that even the wildest, weirdest ideas can live forever. If you want a monster that defines so bad it's brilliant, the Giant Claw is your new favorite bird of prey. Fiend Without a Face. Fiend Without a Face, 1958. You know you're in for something different when the monsters aren't giant animals or aliens, but brains, yes, disembodied crawling brains with wriggling spinal cords. In this British cult shocker, invisible creatures born from nuclear experiments terrorize a remote airbase, killing with a deadly hiss and a grip that crushes the mind. The twist. Once revealed, the fiends turn visible, transforming into stop-motion nightmares that leap, squirm, and latch onto terrified victims. The practical effects are legendary, grossing out audiences with every twitch and splatter. What makes The Fiend Without a Face special is its pure pulpy creativity. Science, paranoia, and body horror collide in one unforgettable package. It's a monster movie where the greatest fear isn't what you see, but what you can't see until it's crawling up your leg. The fiends might be tiny, but their impact on 50s sci-fi is huge. When it comes to brainy monsters, this one's king of the heap. So, which of these 1950s sci-fi creatures would you least want to meet on a dark night, or is there a monster that still haunts your imagination? The golden age of drive-ins and matinees gave us legends that never die, even when the credits roll. Hit like if you love classic monsters, drop your favorite creature in the comments, and subscribe for more cinematic deep dives. The real question is, which nightmare from the past will crawl back next?